I like the character of Woody Woodpecker. I feel like Woody Woodpecker got screwed over by Universal, because for the longest time he was their main mascot. I mean, like, he was the centerpiece of Universal Studios. You could go to Universal. I mean, they made theme park areas based off of Woody Woodpecker. He's all over Universal's logos, or at least he was until the Minions came around. And then someone at Universal said, we like these Minions better. We're gonna push Woody Woodpecker off the site so much, and we're gonna make him just as obnoxious and put him in the worst possible movie, so that people will completely forget that Woody Woodpecker is a great character in history, animation history. But yeah, and of course that movie I'm talking about is the 2017 Woody Woodpecker movie, which, yes, it is a horrible movie. It is a movie that is obnoxious, it's annoying, it's everything bad with kids' movies. And when I watched this movie for the main channel, I had no idea that it was going to be one of my most popular videos. In fact, even to this day, I'm actually looking at the statistics on this video right now from my channel, and it's still getting over 50 views to this very day. Like, it's still one of my most watched videos. And again, like, if you saw the video, then you probably know exactly what I'm talking about, because that movie, if you're a Woody Woodpecker fan, that movie is absolutely abysmal. It is one of the worst pieces of garbage you will ever see in your life. So, obviously, when Woody Woodpecker Goes to Camp was announced, I think a lot of us were wondering, why are you releasing this? I mean, I get Woody Woodpecker's a popular character in Brazil, but why should I get excited for this? And then the trailer came out.
Guess who?
Last thing I need is a loudmouth woodpecker spoiling my plan.
And then it's just like, wait a minute. That's Buzz Buzzard. That's Wally Walrus. They're voiced by really good voice actors. Woody Woodpecker doesn't seem as obnoxious as he does in the last movies. The human characters actually acknowledge these cartoon characters as real people in this movie. Like, I'm not expecting a great thing from this, but I was just like, I'm actually kind of intrigued with what I want to see here. And sure enough, I watched the movie, and I gotta say, it's not a great movie. It definitely has a lot of flaws to it, but at the same time, I actually kind of I enjoyed it. Like, I'm not going to say it's a masterpiece by any means necessary. It's not going to be a movie where I say, like, you got to see this movie. I mean, you got to see this masterpiece that is Woody Woodpecker Goes to Camp. And it's just like, no, I'm not going to say that. But you know what? I am going to say that it's a movie that surprising me in a number of different ways, for the fact that you can tell that this movie was written by people and directed by people, created by people that know why Woody Woodpecker is so special and what makes him so funny. I mean, when this movie is Woody Woodpecker and the characters from the cartoons, it's a great fun time. Like, you can go into it watching and just like, I'm not going to say this is, like I said, not a classic by any means, but when it's these characters, they really are funny, and they've got a lot of good voice talents in here. Like Eric Bauza, I always thought was a good Woody Woodpecker. I think the biggest problem with him in the first movie was that every line he read, it looked like he was reading it off a line in a porta potty. Like, he was like, you can hear like the echo inside of his voice whenever he's doing the voice in that first movie.
Now it's your turn. Come on, kids, show me what you got.
But here, it sounds a whole lot better.
We're gonna train like nobody's watching. Because we'd be embarrassed if someone was watching.
It doesn't feel like it actually sounds like it's in a recording booth. And like him, you got Buzz Buzzard, Kevin Michael Richardson, who really does a good job. I thought it was Mark Hamill again, like he was in the 90s Woody Woodpecker cartoon. But no, it's Kevin Michael Richardson, and he's very good handling that. And he does a very good job of making that his own character, too. And like, Tom Kenny as Wally Walrus, like, it's great to see those characters back in a movie like this, where they're actually given an opportunity to show, hey, Woody Woodpecker can be funny, because when it's those characters on screen, this movie works. It's surprisingly fun. When it's the human characters, it's not the worst, but it certainly isn't it's certainly what you expect from a movie like this. I mean, it's nothing too spectacular. They have some pretty bigger names in this movie than they did in the last one. You got Josh Lawson from House of Lies and also Mortal Kombat, and then Mary Louise Parker was in this movie. I had no idea she was in this film. Like what are they doing in this movie? And sure enough, they're the few actors that are carrying the load of this film. And the slapstick overall is very solid with the animated characters. I like the fact that the cartoon characters are there to just be, they're there to essentially be, like, they're not seen as pariahs. That, like, they're there like they're part of normal society, and I thought that was kind of amusing. I did all this without telling you what the plot of this movie was, but it's really not anything too significant. After getting kicked out of the force, Woody thinks he's found a forever home at Camp Woohoo until an inspector threatens to shut down the camp. And to make things difficult, an escaped convict named Buzz Buzzard poses as the rival camp's chef to rob a hidden treasure. And, so the story itself is nothing too generic. It's nothing too spectacular, is what I'm trying to say. It's a pretty generic storyline, but when the humor works with the cartoon characters involved, it works fine. I really came out of this movie glad I saw it. I was really not going into it with a whole lot of expectations for it, except that I was intrigued of what they were going to do with the characters involved here. But it reminded me so much of the 2021 Tom and Jerry movie, which I thought was good. It has a lot of the same problems, too. The cartoon character moments are the best parts of that movie. When it's the human characters, not so much. It's definitely not as good. And, there's definitely a lot of similarities to this movie and the Tom and Jerry movie. And I like both of these movies a lot. I really like the Tom and Jerry movie a lot, and mostly because of the stuff with Tom and Jerry in it. When Tom and Jerry can be Tom and Jerry, that's when the movie is great. When Woody Woodpecker can be Woody Woodpecker in this movie, that's when the movie is fun. It's a entertaining film. I'm not going to say that it's going to change people's minds on Woody Woodpecker as a whole, but it should really make people want to see these characters in those classic cartoons again. I'm really glad to see that the cartoons are making somewhat of a comeback. MeTV shows them on Saturday mornings. You can find these cartoons anywhere online. There's compilations on YouTube all over the place that are very much worth it. I would highly recommend going to check those out, because it's a mixture of the classic cartoons from the 40s and 50s mixed in with the newer episodes from the 90s show, which is criminally underrated. Billy West is great as Woody Woodpecker on that show. And I was glad to see it. If I had to give a review for it, I would probably give it a marginal a mixed review. Like I said, when it's Woody Woodpecker and the cartoon characters, it's fun. When it's everything else, it's not bad, but it certainly isn't enough to totally recommend the movie. If you want to, I would say see this movie if you want to see what Woody Woodpecker's capabilities are in modern day. I give it a mixed opinion. My thumb would usually be right in the middle. So it's not a thumbs up, it's not a thumbs down. It's somewhere in the middle, which for this type of film, especially compared to the last movie, that's a huge improvement on this particular film. So I do recommend Woody Woodpecker Goes to Camp. It's available to watch on Netflix. I'd say definitely check it out. It's a good fun time.